HermitCraft Season 10 was, unsurprisingly, full of hermits who have worked tirelessly to create their own pieces of YouTube art. Whilst these hermits all have worked incredibly hard to upload not just entertaining but productive videos, some have certainly performed better than others. And that is why we're here, to figure out who was the best hermit in HermitCraft Season 10.
It's not a thong, it's very comfortable.
It's a thong!
In last place we have Iskall. I debated whether it was even worth putting Iskall and another hermit on this list, but for the sake of ranking every Season 10 hermit, he's here. Anyway, that's enough said. He loses for obvious reasons. In second to last, we have Stress Monster. Now, while Stress made a strong start in the season's beginning, with the creation of her HermitCraft through time base, her departure alongside Iskall early on in the season makes it very difficult to actually judge her impact on the season as a whole. Well, that and the fact that she deleted all of her videos a few weeks after quitting.
Okay, so where's the food at?
Hypno started this season strong. His base, which was combined with Wells Nights via an underground tunnel, had an older Minecraft charm to it that you rarely find in most modern SMPs. This, paired with his experimentation with music discs and shulker farms, laid the framework for a really strong season. However, it was also clear from the beginning that his season lacked direction. This, alongside his preference for modded Minecraft, led him to stop uploading episodes very early on in the season, a common trend for Hypno, who took mid-season breaks during both Season 7 and Season 9 of HermitCraft. In short, what Hypno produced during Season 10 was really strong, and I totally understand that a myriad of personal issues can prevent the Hermit from uploading. So of course, no shade to Hypno for choosing to exit the season early on. What he did was good. But again, it's hard to rank a Hermit season when they only upload a small numbers of episodes, so into 25th Hypno goes.
It will burn.
Wells Night was another hermit whose uploads were somewhat stunted due to personal issues. I really urge you all to watch episode 29 of his season, as he explains this in a really detailed way and in far more depth than I could ever go into. That being said, Wells still made a big impact on the server when he did find the chance to upload. Centering his season around a large medieval castle, Wells created his own unique take on a more traditional concept. This, coupled with his authentic presentation and honesty with his viewers, elevated his work from your average HermitCraft season to something unique and special. A very valuable asset in the repetitive world of endless 100 days videos. However, again, like Hypno, Wells' lack of uploads meant that his progress through the season was kind of lackluster, making it hard for me to justify placing him any higher on the list. That being said, Wells should be very proud of his work this season, and again, I really encourage you guys to watch his episodes and educate yourself on his personal struggles, because they're incredibly relevant to his absence this season.
Sheep!
Is that sheep looking at me?
Zedath is by far the most unique hermit on the server, using his own creative mind to come up with strange and wacky concepts that most of us couldn't create if we tried. This is abundantly clear throughout his base, with a furnace that is powered by kinetic energy and pistons, a brewing machine that works on DDR mechanics, and an army of floating chicken jockey villagers, or as I call them, chillagers. And who can forget Is That Sheep Looking at Me, Zedath's homegrown game show that involved multiple collaborations with other hermits this season. Zed truly knows his niche, and he sticks to that niche, rarely pushing himself out into the wider lore of the server or attempting large-scale projects like a mega base. Now, whilst of course it is good for a hermit to know their niche, as the season went on it became clear that Zed was exhausting his wacky ideas and concepts, and as a result of that his upload slowed. Whilst I would love to put Zed higher up on the list, I feel that his season lacked the multi-dimensionality of other hermits, and so it's into 23rd with him.
I'm gonna force feed you seeds until you love me.
Now, this is most definitely a controversial pick. Trust me, I love Green as much as the next person, but I can't help but feel that since Season 9, Green's HermitCraft episodes have felt somewhat directionless. When I say directionless, I mean in terms of Minecraft's two core mechanics, redstone and building. Whilst of course you can't expect every hermit to master both, Green has put both of these aspects on the back burner this season, creating a base that, whilst aesthetically pleasing, is presented as more of a chore than a creation that G is truly proud of. This being said, in terms of lore, once again Green has blown it out of the water. He started the season out strong with his Fisherman arc, where his grind for the Mending book was both charming and engaging. He then built on this strength with a Permit arc, a storyline that truly would not have been what it was without his direction and dedication to the plot. However, kinda like Zedath, this dedication to one aspect of the game means that, as the season progressed and plot points became resolved, it became more and more evident that the core aspects of Green's season lack direction. Again, please don't hate me. This is just my opinion as someone who isn't all that bothered about lore. I am sure that Green's season was far more satisfying for you lore lovers out there. Season 10 marks the season where Beef became a dad, so bonus points to Beef for putting his child first and letting this season go somewhat on the back burner. Go you, Beef. That being said, like most people low down on this list, he's kind of here purely because I don't have much to judge his season by. Don't get me wrong, he started the season off strong with the start of the Big Salmon plotline, which, in my opinion at least, could have gone even further than it did. His base, while smaller than most hermits, had a charm that comes almost entirely from the fact that Beef knows what it's like to live on a farm. As a result of this, we got to see some really sweet and detailed additions to the base, like a barn cat based off Beef's own personal cat. Unlike other hermits, Beef was aware of the upcoming personal events that would go on to truncate his season, something that makes itself so clear in the smaller scale of his base, which felt quite complete early on in the season. Again, Beef will be higher on this list, but I have to be objective and acknowledge that, whilst he had a good season, it would have been better if he was more active.
I'm calling you out.
Joe Hills is slept on. I feel like we don't give this guy the appreciation he truly deserves. Throughout the season, Joe has had semi-consistent uploads, focusing mostly on his Hermit Homedale project, which aimed to encourage the entire server to take up and fill plots with their own builds. Fitted with an in-game representation of New Jersey's famous Bell Labs, a detailed library system and an in-game museum that rivals Cub Fan's Season 9 museum, Joe's base quickly became a hotspot for other Hermit's builds, such as the Labyrinth. His characters, Joe Hills, the Puppet and Beetlejuice, are all charming and funny, adding their own weird bits of lore to the series that have given the typical Joe strangeness. Now you guys must be thinking, if I'm praising Joe so highly, why is he so far down on the list? To you I say, because Joe Hills is slept on. His base, whilst amazing and high in concept, was not used by the hermits as much as it should have been. His lore, whilst fun, often didn't intertwine with the other hermits because his base was so far off from everyone else's. As a result of this, Joe's season feels somewhat lackluster in comparison to other hermits who didn't rely on other support to complete their base. That being said, HermitCraft is full of incredible creators, all of whom have had seasons that, like Joe's, deserve all the praise and support they can get.
Hey guys, it's Keralis.
Keralis is HermitCraft's Icarus. His start to the season was incredible, so incredible in fact that he practically flew straight through the sun, leaving him singed and burnt out for the majority of Season 10. This being said, wow, what a season Keralis. His large tropical base puts any talented builder to shame, with its blend of complicated and detailed trees, gorgeously terraformed coastlines, and an even more charming cable car that enhances its vacation vibe. I think that both Keralis' viewers and the other hermits were astounded by his work early on in the season. Keralis is an example of innate skill. It is clear through his base that when Papa K has a vision, he puts it into fruition. Take his more recent creation of the Polar Fortress near XB's base for example. Its beauty is both overwhelming and effortless, a talent which I truly do admire. And yet, due to his Icarus-like nature, the time Keralis took away from the HermitCraft server this season feels all the more impactful, as whilst we saw the work he could complete in a few months, imagine what else he could have created if he had just stayed more committed to the series. But of course, Keralis is human and should do what he enjoys most, so if that's building an awe-inspiring base and then taking some time off, so be it.
You not hear my calls for help?
Etho. They call you washed, but I argue you are still in your prime. Kind of. Don't get me wrong, Etho's strange upload schedule makes his season feel a bit lackluster. The actual content that makes it into Etho's videos, compared to how frequently he appears in other Hermit's videos / live streams, makes Season 10 seem like a pretty average season for Etho. And in some ways, it has been. His base, whilst quaint and not too overdone, is dwarfed by his neighbours Cub Fan and Tango. However, the impression Tango has made on Season 10 is undeniable. Ravager Rush, his rendition of the popular game Frogger, captivated the Hermits with its clever mechanics and frequently changing arenas. The mail system, whilst underutilised in the later stages of the season, connected the Hermits in a way that had never been done before. However, Etho does feel like a bit of an onlooker at times. He has this sort of lovable passivity that makes him perfect for featuring in others' videos, rather than spearheading his own 80+ episode season. All in all, Season 10 has been pretty decent for Etho. Not too bad at all.
Boner.
Season 10 marked the season where Doc stayed truest to his roots. Dialing back the scale from the huge perimeter he built in Season 9, Doc really focused on abusing the niche technical aspects of the game to create some really cool and quirky contraptions. My personal favourite being the Enderpearl teleportation network that he used to get across the server. It still amazes me to this day. However, it would be wrong to say that Doc completely abandoned big building projects as a whole. His large hourglass in the centre of the shopping district really set the standard for what a good permit-abiding shop should look like. This, paired with his constant engagement of the community through his use of fan art thumbnails, lands Doc in a respectable place towards the middle of the pack.
I can take a piss in your mouth.
Skiz is honestly the best addition to HermitCraft since Grian's entry in Season 6. Not only does he capture the charm and authenticity of early Let's Play style videos, his fresh and inexperienced perspective provides a point of view that I didn't realise HermitCraft was lacking until he joined the server this season. Yet, despite the silly and wacky caricature that Skizzleman can often be, his season has still centred around something real and mature: Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Creating a large pyramid structure based off the 4 core layers of Maslow's theory, Skiz managed to blend real issues, such as mortality, with his signature comedic style. This, coupled with the comic relief he provided throughout the Hermit storyline, has cemented Skiz as a dimensional, not just member, but pillar of the server. Well done, Skiz.
Nothing but W's over here.
Gemini Tay is a hermit who I admittedly have not had much experience with. I'm not sure why, but I never gravitated towards her content. But looking back at Season 10, boy do I wish I subscribed to her channel earlier. Taking inspiration from the popular video game Dredge, Gem created a base that blended elements of brutalism, fantasy and the nautical, culminating in a beautifully eclectic seaside village. By then pairing this with her sweet but chaotic delivery and constant attention to detail, such as the creepy pop-out pumpkins that she installed to celebrate Halloween, Gem has finally convinced me that she is a hermit that I most definitely have overlooked. My one small complaint is that I would love to have seen more of Gem in other hermits videos. While she collaborated with members of Magic Mountain, I would have loved to see her spend some time with the neighbourhood crew. But honestly, Gem, I'm sorry I didn't subscribe sooner. Tango certainly had his work cut out for him this season, having created the absolutely genius game Decked Out 2 in Season 9. It's safe to say that Tango would have had to put in a lot of work to top something that will truly go down in HermitCraft history. Whilst Tango arguably didn't create anything with the same awe-inspiring magic as Decked Out 2, I feel like that was almost the point of Tango Season 10, to accept that Decked Out was a grind and take a breather. That being said, Season 10 was still a really good season for Tango. Focusing on the recent implementation of autocrafters, Tango created a giant redstone factory that displayed both his talents in building and in redstone. And then who can forget Hungry Hermits, the game that captivated the Hermits all season long. Taking inspiration from fast-paced games such as Overcooked and Place Up, Tango perfectly translated the chaotic energy of the kitchen sim genre into a wondrously blocky format. When doing Skiz's pyramid, Tango admitted himself that making games is the reason he is on this earth, and I believe that Season 10 proves that point. Tango is a true entertainer and engineer, something that I most definitely am grateful for.
I'm gonna be the tromboner.
Season 10, much like Season 9, saw Impulse set himself yet another huge goal: the creation of a fully fledged cyberpunk city. Now, whilst Impulse may have set his sights too high by aiming to construct multiple games alongside this city, the sheer amount of effort he put into trying to achieve this goal has most definitely earned him this spot on the list. I think this is truly highlighted in the fact that I'm even struggling to pick out just one aspect of Impulse's season to focus on during his segment. Do I talk about Metro Mayhem and the fact that not only is the game a celebration of HermitCraft 10's previous seasons, but it is also a true feat in game creation that blends both fast-paced action with clever parkour and shortcuts? Or do I discuss the multiple high-rise buildings that he and B-Dubs built in the cyberpunk city throughout the season? I honestly can't choose just one, so I will just say this: Impulse is an incredibly dedicated individual, and Season 10 illustrates that perfectly. Good job, dude. Good job.
Started my fitness routine with Pokemon Go 2s.
Exumavoid, my favourite middle-aged, absolutely jacked punk rocker who simultaneously acts as the admin for one of the most popular Minecraft series on YouTube. X is truly a jack of all trades, and I think that HermitCraft Season 10 really highlights this. His base, while smaller than others, is unique and well designed, blending elements of redstone and interior design to create its own little homestead. And then there's Loglands, a two-man project turned one-man in which Exuma created a farm for pretty much every natural resource in the game. However, both these aspects of his season are nothing in comparison to what he has done for the community in preparation for the world download. Not only has X created a large map for the entire server, with the giant map art icon of the season's logo, he has also used the server's Armor Sand mod to build murals which track the key statistics from across the season. And yet, all of this is nothing compared to HermitCraft's greatest community project yet, the HermitCraft Art Museum. In this museum, Exuma and the other hermits have gathered a collection of amazing pieces of art, a curation which acts as a celebration for the wonderful community that has formed around the server. This project wouldn't have happened without Exuma, so thank you, Exuma. The server is truly lucky to have an admin like you.
Sounds a bit kinky.
Cleo is probably the most supportive member of HermitCraft. Not only have they supported their fellow hermits, but they have also, as an ex-teacher, supported the education of hundreds of children. This level of supportiveness has been made abundantly clear throughout Season 10, with Cleo constantly offering their armor stand services to the hermits, creating honest works of art such as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Impulse's Metro Mayhem. This armor stand magic, as the hermits often call it, is truly Cleo's greatest and most unique strength, something evident in their base, which incorporates the armor stand mod to elevate the magical atmosphere of Cleo's mythical mining town. This, coupled with the looming threat of the village's monster, which looks absolutely amazing by the way, makes Cleo's base both engaging and most importantly unique. That novelty is, in part, why Cleo is so high up on this list. They truly create a unique viewing experience which, at least in my opinion, has made Cleo's Season 10 enjoyable to watch.
I'd probably say Obama. I met Obama.
Coming in 10th, we have Cubfan, the king of consistency. Cub, unlike many YouTubers, treats his job as just that, a job. As a result of this, Cub is constantly grinding to produce regular uploads that are both engaging and include a relative amount of progress. This is perhaps most obvious in his huge sculk-censored base. Whilst massive in scale, it is still littered with detail and, most importantly, diamonds. Diamonds which, without the copious amounts of grinding that Cub was willing to put in, would have been lapis for a lesser YouTuber such as myself. However, Cub's grinding does not stop there. Not only did Cub pioneer the use of permits through the creation of his fireworks shop, but he was also central to the Popo storyline, taking on the role of Chief Permit Officer. The way in which Cub stood up to the plate here really shows the true strength of Cub's season. He is dependable and deserves more credit than he gets. Good job, Cub. Jevin, like Joe, is definitely deserving of far more popularity than he has, and Season 10 has made that more clear than ever. Wow, what a season, Jev. Not only has Jevin built a sprawling fantasy forest, but the latter half of his season saw his focus shift to the construction of a giant castle overlooking this forest. The constant expansion of his base acting as a testament to his determination to do more and create more. However, where Jev truly shined this season is in the lore that he contributed to the Permit Office storyline. As leader of Nopo, Joe created a much needed dramatic tension between the hermits, a tension which gave the whole Permit storyline a lot more direction. I am truly lost for words at how well Jev has done this season. Not only has he fought through some extremely difficult and expensive personal issues, but he has published what is, in my opinion, his best season yet. Wow. Honestly, wow.
And I am on the Geomine server, which is...
False Symmetry Season 10 is the perfect example of knowing your limits. Of course, False has taken on some huge projects, but her base grew in stages as the season went on, and in doing this, False made sure not to overextend herself. By growing her base from a small circle of houses to a large building with a stunning tree looming above, and finally to a terraform blend of rustic and sci-fi, False has avoided something that plagues most hermits: fatigue. By not aiming so high, False was able to focus on not just her base, but also the nearby rivers. All in all, False's Season 10 really has no flaws for me. It may not be as perfect as the ones higher on the list, but she did a pretty good job.
Can you show me your butt, please, kiddies? Can you please turn around?
In at number 7 we have Rendog and his Gigacorp Colony HC-10. Ren's season was the perfect blend between lore, progress and general shenanigans, and by this I mean his lore influenced his builds, and his builds opened the window to a number of brilliant shenanigans. Take the Giga Hut for example. After drafting his ideas for the build, Ren had digital blueprints created to reinforce the space colony aesthetic. He then explained why the Giga Hut was necessary for his survival in the fictional HC-10, and then, and only then, did he properly construct the build. This is the magic of Rendog, and particularly Rendog this season. He effortlessly made lore a reality. Another example, his shops in the shopping district. Their style remained consistent with the season's lore because Rendog respects the logic of lore, and that is what makes Rendog special.
Honey, 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 must be running in this Minecraft.
This man is honestly just insane. I genuinely believe that in his first season of HermitCraft, Joel has managed to create a base that rivals any other, both in detail and in scale. Much like Impulse, Joel focused on creating a cyberpunk city, fusing elements of Japanese architecture to construct an absolutely insane mega base. However, unlike any other hermit, Joel seems to have this superpower of both insane creativity and incredible efficiency. The fact that Joel added a new structure to his skyline nearly every episode this season speaks for itself. It is clear that Joel wanted to make one hell of an entrance, and that he definitely did. And then there's his unique way of packaging his videos, intertwining skits with random songs to make every episode not just awe-inspiring but also entertaining.
Honey, 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 must be running in this Minecraft world.
Joel is not just a talented builder, but an entertainer too. Two unique traits that have definitely earned him his spot high up on the list.
Dong me right now, let's go.
Okay, right, okay.
When I watched Season 9 of HermitCraft, particularly Scar's episodes, I saw Scarland and said to myself, how can anyone ever beat the pure magic of that build? I don't know how, but Scar did just that this season. His Scarfari Zoo, situated at the bottom of Magic Mountain, blends elements of wild fantasy and bold naturalism, creating a base that was more than just a base, but rather a feast for the senses. Take the giant redwood trees that Scar placed around his base, for example. By meticulously thinking about light, hue and colour, Scar was able to create a sense of scale and spectacle that no other hermit has captured this season. And then who can forget the train? Scar ensured that every single car on this train was littered with minute details, and the fruits of that are really shown in the end product, which truly acts as a celebration of Scar's building talents. These builds, however, were merely the exposition for the main event of Scar's Season 10, the zoo. This zoo not only incorporates the Imagineering magic of Scarland, but its small scale allowed Scar to actually complete the build and fulfill his vision. It's something that I think Scar ought to be really proud of himself for. And then on top of all this, Scar has also brought an unrivaled charm to the lore of this season. Acting as chief of the Popo alongside Skiz, Scar managed to take the storyline from your average piece of lore to a hilariously weird and engaging plot. Damn Scar, you really are good.
This man was just trying to shoot me 2 seconds ago.
Right. Pearl's efforts this season are pretty much summed up by how often I saw Hermit staring at her base in awe, which unsurprisingly happened very often. Pearl's solar punk town perfectly combined colour, texture and hue, creating a beautifully executed vision that stayed in line with its aesthetic the whole way through. It is clear that Pearl really thought her base out this season, as its many minute details elevate the build from something gorgeous to something truly unique. Take the tunnels that run under her base, for example. Not only were these tunnels useful for Pearl and the other hermits this season, but they also allowed many parts of Pearl's base to feel connected and interlinked, making its beauty all the more overwhelming. However, where Pearl has really shined this season is in a constant challenging of herself. Pearl is primarily a builder. I think that is more than clear in her aforementioned base. Yet Pearl consistently challenges herself to be more than that. This is epitomised in her technical creation, Purdle, which took the principles of the hit game Wordle and put them into Minecraft. With little to no redstone experience prior to this challenge, Pearl proved to us, the viewer, that if you set your mind to a goal, anything is possible. That is what makes Pearl so special. She is not a quitter or a coaster. She is a worker who constantly strives to make herself better.
One more run, let's shave some nuggies.
B-Dubs is not just a hermit, not just a content creator, but he is an artist. B00100 Season 10 was a literal work of art. Every single build he completed had a sense of purpose, it had a reason, and most importantly, it fits into the wider vision of his base. He treats Minecraft as a canvas on which he paints some of the most beautiful and detailed images. Take his forest for example. Not only was that build a massive grind, but it also incorporated reality, with B-Dubs taking inspiration from the trees around his home and implementing that vision into his work. We also can't forget the sheer amount of attention to details B-Dubs puts into his work. The little tricks he uses, like open fence gates to look like birds in the sky, really are genius. And yet what is most unique about this genius is his devotion to his fellow hermits. All season long, B-Dubs made an effort to help and support the hermits with their projects, despite his own heavy workload. His work on the Nether Hub was stunning. Without his support, Impulse would have never finished the Cyberpunk city. B-Dubs is not afraid to use his talent to help others, acting as an inspiration to both hermits and his fans. One of the most inspiring aspects of his work for me personally is the way in which he presents his videos. Once again, B-Dubs would bind art and YouTube in his use of wide establishing shots to set the pace of the video, or as a homage to the courtroom drama in his Tool Claims Court miniseries. So, all I have to say is thank you B-Dubs. Thank you for being my inspiration.
And finally there's Mumbo.
Mumbo has been a prominent member of HermitCraft for years, having a number of really strong seasons on his belt. However, I truly believe that Season 10 is Mumbo's best season to date. After a difficult time in Season 9 and a long break to figure out some personal issues, Mumbo came to Season 10 with a fresh perspective. A perspective made clear through his constant improvement throughout the season. By treating YouTube as a hobby, opposed to an obligation, Mumbo was able to improve in nearly every facet of the game. In terms of building, he made consistent efforts to elevate his style from stone bricks and iron blocks, challenging himself to use gradients and add minute details in ways that we have never seen done before. This extreme level of detail is what made Mumbo stand out the most for me this season. His creation of unique title cards, build sketches, physical merch and elements of world building such as the Mind Corporation's backstory all made his season feel like more than just your average season of HermitCraft. And in spite of all this improvement in his building abilities, Mumbo still stayed true to his roots, taking inspiration from his community to pioneer numerous buildstone creations that blended functionality with beauty. Mumbo Season 10 featured all the charm and wit of a typical HermitCraft season, whilst also introducing bold new ideas that got Mumbo out of his rut and back into the content creation headspace. He should be damn well proud of this season because I know I am. Well done, Mumbo. So there we have it, every hermit ranked. If you've made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you've enjoyed. The Hermits all worked so hard this season, so please send only love and support to all of them. At the end of the day, their content costs us nothing, and that is such a privilege. Have a good day, and thanks for watching.